Hi guys, welcome back. I know it's been a while, but today we're going to make some web shooters for you. This is in light of the new Spider-Man Homecoming film coming out in the next couple of days, so I hope you enjoy. If you follow the link in the description, you'll find a parts list of all the parts that we used in the project. So the first thing you want to do is get sort of a plastic shoe. So in this case I'm going to use this pen that I found. I'm creating a sort of zone that I'm going to wrap all my wire around, and for this I'm just going to use 2 washers. But unfortunately the washers I have chosen are slightly too big, so I'm just applying a few layers of tape just to hold the washers in place so that it doesn't move around. As I said, this is going to create the area of the sort of coil where I'm going to wrap all the wire around. Alright, so now that we've created our area for our coil, we're going to start coiling our wire. For this you need some magnetic wire or some specific coiling wire that's got a layer of coating over it so it doesn't short circuit. And what you want to do is you want to start at one end, leaving a little bit spare to attach all of our sort of battery to later. Fix it down with a bit of super glue or something, and then we're going to start coiling, making sure we keep the coils very close together, very tight, so that we create a nice sort of firm coil. And once you're done, you just want to firm it down with a piece of super glue or sort of other glues that you have, and then I'm just going to add a layer of electrical tape just to be on the safe side and hold everything down. If you are going to do tape, make sure that you try and get it all the same level, as this will create problems for you in the future if these aren't level. To test your coil, attach both of the wires to the 9-volt battery. What you should see is the magnetic projectile get sucked into the coil. Your next step is to take apart your disposable camera using a knife. Once you've done this, remove any of the leftover plastic and ensure that you discharge your capacitor, because 230 volts will hurt. So first thing you want to do is we want to take out our capacitors, and to do this we're going to use a soldering iron, just heat up the solder, and then we're going to use a solder remover to suck up all the excess solder so that we can safely remove the capacitor. Once done that, we're just going to put a positive and a negative wire into where the positive and negative terminals of the capacitor went into, so that we can add it back at a later time. Do take care to make sure you get these the right way around, as if you do get these the wrong way around then it will cause a bit of a problem later on. If you have a helping hand, then you can set it up so that it holds it for you, and all you have to do is solder it. If not, then it takes slightly bit more time, but just take your time and get it right. This is quite important. So, a good thing to do in this project, because there are so many stages where things could go wrong, is to occasionally reconnect up the capacitor, put a battery in, and then test to see if your flash still works. So this is what I'm doing just here. I've reconnected the capacitor, just reconnected the battery, and because I don't want to be shocked with 230 volts, I'm just using an empty pen to push down the charging switch, and then I'm going to ignite it myself using my knife. See a flash, so that means that everything's working in the circuit. Alright, so if you do a test, make sure to discharge your capacitor afterwards, otherwise you'll be in for a nasty shock. So once you've done that, we're going to move on to removing the flash now from the circuit, as the flash connections are what we're going to attach our coil to, as that's where the big voltages pass through, so we want to try and take that through our coil to then fling our projectile forward. So what you can do is attach a wire to the top of one of the mini transformers on the back. You'll see it's attached to the flash, just remove it carefully and very delicately attach a wire to the top of it. I'm just going to put a bit of tape on top just to hold it down even more, because it's not the biggest connection and it's quite likely to come off. So once you've done that, we're going to look on the other side, and the positive and negative parts of the capacitor just so happen to be on the same side as the positive and negative parts of the flash. So therefore, when we remove the flash, we've just got to remember which side the positive and negative is on, so that we can reattach positive and negative wires to it. That will go off to our coil once this is all complete. Remove the positive and negative terminals of the battery. Once you've done this, our positive and negative wires are respectively back into the places where the battery was. After you've done this, place some tape on it so that it stays there. Alright, so now we're going to move on to the ignition switch for the flash. This has two connections to the circuit board, which can be quite easily just removed using the soldering iron and the solder remover. So we're going to quickly take them out, and then we're going to sort of pry it out, and it should come out quite easily if all the solder has been removed. Then once again, we're just going to add two wires. Doesn't really matter if they're both positive or both negative, as long as they're both the same colour. Just solder them into the circuit board, and these will be attached to a switch further on down the line to control when we shoot. Alright, so once you've done the ignition switch, we're going to move on to the charging switch, which controls when the capacitors are allowed to charge and when the current from the battery is allowed to flow through the circuit. So there's one side which is sort of the main part of the switch we're going to remove, and attach a wire to that. So the way that you want to do this is, first of all, by trying to put a lot of solder on the two available connections that are already on the circuit board, as this will give you a lot sort of adhesive between the wire and the circuit. Once you've done that, it's also quite a good thing to try and add a lot of solder to the wire, and once again this will sort of make it easier to attach down. And hopefully just take your time, gently try and stick it down, and eventually it will stick down. Once you've done that, you've officially wired up everything, so all you need to do is twist all sort of corresponding wires together.
Connect the two wires for the charging switch, and then go and do the same for the ignition switch, as we're going to control them in a different way. To make the web shooter even more powerful, we can attach many capacitors in parallel, then solder them together to make them into a capacitor bank.
Alright, so the switch we're going to use to trigger our circuit to then release all our voltage is a momentary switch. Now the way these work is that they've got 4 pins, and for this case, because we've only got 2 wires, we want the opposite diagonal, so we're going to remove 2 in opposite corners because we don't need them, and just so that we have 2 remaining. What we're going to do is we're going to solder one to one of the positive or negative wires that's on our flash. So I've gone for the negative here. We're going to solder it there, and then we're going to solder another piece of wire to the other one that's going to extend our negative and connect it to our coil.
After you've done all this, cut out some card to the size of your wrist. Then glue down all the components, starting with the coil.
Okay, so the way I've wired this up is that I've got my coil in the middle here, and what I've done is I've connected one side to the momentary switch, which then comes back down and connects to the negative part where the flash used to be, and I've got the positive connected up to the other available thing from the coil. I've then got my battery, which I've connected to a switch so that I can control when the whole thing's charging. I've got my capacitor bank over here consisting of 4 capacitors that take a little while to charge, but do give it a good voltage when done.
To take this further, you can find a template for a web shooter online and then cut out from some thin foam. You can reorganise the components to fit in the shooter like we did.
So once you're done on that, you should be left with a nice, fully functioning, working web shooter. That's the end of that video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope your web shooters turn out as good as ours seem to do. If you've got any questions, don't forget to leave them in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more cool projects like this one. We've got many videos planning to come out soon. So yeah, don't miss them out, and we'll see you in the next video.